Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for inspired conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Hey, beautiful soul. Are you yearning for sacred community? Now more than ever, women are being called to gather in sacred circle for connection, community, and transformation. If your soul is shouting yes, and you yearn to come together for live circles twice a month with me and other women on the path of self-discovery, while also having access to a transformational curriculum of over 50 classes taught by leading visionaries. And you're going to feel right at home, my friend, on the soul nourishing virtual campus of Inspired Living University. The doors open just a few times a year, and I want to be sure you're on the wait list. So get on over to inspiredlivinguniversity.com. You know, I'm so grateful that you're all here with me today because you know I am so passionate and have been for almost 9 years now through this medium of bringing you conversations to support you in living your best life, living a life about living from the inside out instead of the outside in. And you all know my journey. It's been a hell of a one to change what the world tells us to do, which is chase what's on the outside and start living from our truth, from our soul, embodying the truth of who we are. And guess what? We're going to be talking about that today. I have a book in my hand that you can't see, but I got to tell you, the cover is stunning. It's called Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. Toni Bergins is, you may know her. I've known her for a long time through social media and following it. She is the founder of JourneyDance and as well as the author. And let me do a formal bio before we bring her on in. Toni is an embodiment trailblazer who has taught at the premier holistic healing centers for the last 27 years. She's on the faculty at the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health and has worked there as a movement artist, dance educator, expressive arts workshop leader, and is an expert in creating transformational workshops. Her new book is called Embody, and we're going to be talking about that and so much more in this episode. You can learn more about Toni's work at JourneyDance.com. Toni, I'm so glad that you can be here with me today.
Thank you so much. I love what you're doing. Inspired Living University. That is right up my alley. That is just in my lane. I want to jump on.
You're like, let me in there.
Oh
Well, I
my
gotta,
goodness. It's like a
well,
dream.
it's so funny because I live in Massachusetts, so I'm always on the Kripalu website looking at things, and so I've always known who you are. This is the first time we're really connected, so I've always known who you are. I see what you're always up to, but when I first heard, honestly, of JourneyDance, you're talking to someone who will not even take aerobic classes back then because they'd all be going one way, I'd be going this way, line dance.
Right. I
So
get it.
when I watched you, I used to watch your videos and all that when they first came, and I would see you on YouTube and different platforms. I'm like, it is so freeing. And I've always said, oh, look at that there. It's just like this energy movement. So one,
Yes.
I just want to say the lives you've changed just through JourneyDance, the processes, your offerings, never mind the whole embodiment message, is
Mm.
truly powerful. So thank you for
Thank you so
that. Yeah.
much.
So let's talk about that. Let's start with JourneyDance because I think that's part of the story that led to Embody, correct?
Of course. Yeah, it's like my whole
So
life.
what was there a pivotal moment for you as a woman or spiritually that led you to create JourneyDance? Was there a need you saw or something personal?
Yeah, this is such a great question, because actually it was a need inside of me to heal myself. I was not in a well state when I discovered dance as a possibility. I was in a much perfectionistic state. I was in that mindset of, what does a person do with their life? You do this, and that. You follow this prescribed, method of being, and you just do your life. It wasn't like I had a lot of doors open like, "Oh, you could do whatever you want," never even considered anything passionate. It was more like, what do you wanna choose? Am I gonna be a psychotherapist? Was I gonna be a chef? These are my things I had on my list. Or was I gonna go be a teacher? Because I loved working with groups, and I loved psychology, and I loved cooking. These are my things. So, my life is a complex, merging of all that in a sense. But dance was not my thing. It was my private thing. It was like I would go to clubs in New York and be like, "Roar," and it was more like a thing I did to release, and I just had no idea the power of it until I, did have a pivotal moment was when I was not in a good space and I stumbled into Kripalu Center because my sister had lived up in the Berkshires and I was trying to impress somebody I was dating and took them to Kripalu. It was so funny. It was back in 90 before the fall of the guru and all that stuff. It was before Kripalu became what it is now. It was a ashram and you're all quiet and silent and walk the halls and wear slippers and the whole thing. And I went to this dance class where this wonderful man was teaching. His name was Yuri, and he is no longer with us. He has passed on, but he was such a dear soul, and I was broken open in this dance class. It had no mirrors, and we were just kind of running around, and it felt very chaotic in some ways, but it was what he said that was so beautiful. He said, like, "You're all so beautiful," and I felt it in a way that I never felt like, yeah, like I might be like, a beautiful person, a beautiful, face or body or whatever, but this was like on a soul level. This was soul level. There was nothing about this that was physical. And I just broke open in the corner and started crying hysterically because I had been on this perfectionistic, like really hard on myself life, really hard on myself. Like I was so negative. My mind was just constantly abusing me. I mean, I was really the mind is what I'm actually working with, even though I work with the body. And my whole book is about embodiment because the mind is not the place that I want people to live. Right. The mind, as we can see what's happening in our society today, the mind can be easily manipulated and easily shifted and told but what to do and how to be. So how do you get past the mind? I feel like we bypass the mind by moving into the body. So that's what happened to me. I fell like into tears and I said to myself, I'm done. I'm not doing this thing anymore. I was working out every single day. I was obsessed with food and dieting. I had become so skinny. I was not really healthy. There was so much to it. This moment, it was like shifting on a dime. And I said, I'm never going back to the gym. And that started my exploration into yoga, spirituality. I did so many different spiritual practices. I mean, oh my God, I tried everything there was. And basically, at the end of the day, what I realized was I was trying to get out of my body all this time, trying to get out, trying to get to the state of nirvana where I could leave the body and become the spirit and leave the body and leave the body. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. This is not where the joy is. The joy is in here, feeling the body. I was like, oh, I have to go this way. So that's what I did with my spirituality. And I went into the body. And then the dance was all like years and years of experimentation, laboratory development, and taking psychological processes and weaving them into movement with music to create that altered state process where you feel like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back. That's what it is, I think, that people feel. That's why,
That's what I feel.
yeah,
It's a return to self.
yes,
You know what I mean? Because we are
yes.
so programmed to live up here. And like
Hmm.
I can hear you. I had eating disorders, so I was anorexic for 30 years. And
Okay.
once I got on the spiritual personal development journey,
Mm,
I just said, listen, my body is the essence of who I am. I used to navigate the first 30 years.
right,
I was like that was an appendage that I had to carry
right,
around with me because I was so wounded. So a lot of
right.
what you said speaks to me. Um,
Yes,
but one of the things that I'm hearing too, and when I visit your site and you see the joy of everybody, like in the videos and on the images on your,
yep,
I'm like, this is what everyone's missing, right? We are so up here, and pointing to my head, ladies, that
yes.
we have forgotten what it's like to truly be, as you share, embodied. It's still taken me a lot of years
Mhm.
to fully love my body. I just turned 62. I feel great. This is the
Wow,
best I've ever felt. Um,
congratulations.
Thank you. But that part is still a healing part of the journey, right?
Yes.
When you created the concept of journey dance, It had to be the most liberating thing when you finally brought it out to women and you gather in that first circle and they're all
Mm.
excelling it. It must have been like a magical circle.
I love that. I mean, for me, every circle is magical that I'm like, from the beginning, it was like there was no question that once you add movement and music to any circle, it just activates all the energy. So what I discovered was, oh, what do people need? What do I need? And that's the thing I teach is about like when you become a teacher, let's say you want to be a journey dance teacher or any kind of teacher, if you just stick to the curriculum and you just like stay and this is what I'm teaching, this is the method, blah, blah, blah. If you don't bring your story forward or your personal self forward, it just it doesn't stick. It
Flat.
feels like a teacher, right? It feels flat. But when you bring yourself to the thing, so I would show up and be like, okay, my heart is broken. Let's say I had a heartbreak. I would play music that would let people feel their grief because I needed to feel grief. If I was angry and I was in the middle of divorce, whatever I was into at that time in my life, I'd bring anger to the dance floor and I'd have the women and the men who show up, just letting it out, letting it be expressed in a discharge that is in a healthy and safe way where you're not doing it to someone or to yourself. You're doing it in movement to the dance floor. You're letting it discharge through the body. And energy is anger, I say, is energy repressed. It is power repressed. When you don't let yourself let it out, there's so much power and energy, especially as women, that we hold our anger in because we're not supposed to feel it. And right now, ladies, we need to get some
Feel
power
it.
moving. So use it as power. Anger is your power. It is not something to be afraid of. It is your power when it's channeled properly, right?
And
And
that's
then same thing with joy. Like we need to feel joy. So part of journey dance, there's a whole section of journey dance, which is just joy. It's just snap your fingers, move your body, shake to side, and like let the music take you, da, 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 pulse and bounce and feel, and let the joy that lives in your body naturally come to the surface. And that's when in joy, you can deal with all the other emotions, if
just
that makes
speaking
sense.
to my soul, my friend. We're gonna do,
Totally.
I can't wait for this, the next segment. We're gonna go to a quick break and when we come back, I want to dive into this because everything that all my media brands, my communities are all about is reminding women of the truth of who they are, because many of us have forgotten, and to encourage them to live from the inside out. And joy is a big part of my message because
Mm.
we've forgotten it. So, ladies, we're going to take a quick break. I am with Toni Bergins. I want you to visit her at JourneyDance.com and be sure to grab a copy of her new book called Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. We'll be back in a moment.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation and let's magnetize and monetize.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me is the one and only Toni Bergins, creator and founder of JourneyDance and the author of the new book called Embody. And right before the break, you were talking about, like, I can see Toni, we're actually on video. We wanted to stay energetically connected today, so we can see each other. And so as she's talking, her body is moving, and I'm actually wiggling in my chair. What I loved about what you said, and I've found this to be true, this all came from your own healing journey.
Absolutely.
Everything that I've birthed is from my darkness in my search for light and healing. And now I just organically started teaching it 30 years ago. Um, and I think to me, that's the most empowering teachers when we
Mm,
really feel what they're feeling and experience.
mhm.
Um, so let's shift a little bit. So you did you've been leading Journey Dance, you teach at Crapalo, many other organizations.
Yes.
Well known, people can take your classes virtually, join you in circle at different locations. What are you so excited about this book for? Which is called Embody, which is everything that you've really been doing for 27 years.
It is. I
So
think, yeah.
add to
I mean,
this.
what I'm most excited about is to get this work out into the world for people who maybe wouldn't dance. I mean, all the dancers who love me, they bought the book and they're all sending me pictures and it's wonderful. And I want to get deeper. I'm ready to go deeper. I feel like I've been doing this for a long time. And I feel now I can hold an even wider space. And I can say to people who have not ever danced or moved, what if you picked up this book and you said, okay, I'm going to do this in my living room. There's a portal, by the way, if you buy the book, the physical
Yep.
copy, the audio is coming out soon, which is all lead. And it'll be so easy to follow me in the audiobook as well. But there's video portal and music portal that's free to those who buy the book. You go in and you access it, and there's all kinds of cool things in there. And I want people to start to feel, because what's happened is when we numb out and we go into autopilot, we allow like things that we would never allow in our lives. We allow ourselves to stay in a negative mindset. We hook into other mindsets that we're not liking. We're just kind of getting by. We get hooked, we get pulled, we get pressed, we get this, we're plugging into that. There's so much chaos out there. There's so much information constantly coming into our sphere. Even if you don't follow, anything, you get it, you feel it. But if you go into your body, you take time and you say, okay, I'm going to do embodiment today, and you roll around on the floor, you're going to feel so present. And the way you make decisions and the way you communicate with everyone in your life shifts. If you go into awakening and you get all your energy moving, you might feel sassy. You might be like, oh my God, I am a sassy person. Like, we get these labels of who we are. And what if you were all the things? That's why I love the book, because it's all the things. Then we go into like immersion and you're like looking at yourself, looking at your fingers, look at your wrists, look at your shoulders, your elbows. How does this thing move? And if it doesn't move very much, you start somewhere. You start with some circles. You just start to feel, oh, it actually feels good to be in a body, because we have trauma, we have past, we have things that have happened to us that have taken us out, and I call it the escape hatch. It doesn't mean you're disembodied and you're totally disassociated. It just means you're not in. You're not fully in. You're just up
Fully
here
in.
hanging out. You're like, I'm in, I can walk, I can talk, I can interact with people, but I'm not really present. I'm like sort of up here evaluating. And that's from hypervigilance. When we have trauma and things that happen to us, we go into this little slightly hypervigilant state, like what's going to happen next? So we're good, we look fine, and everyone thinks we're fine, but we're like not in. There's something about that. So then we go into like the joy part I was talking about, get really joyful. So then we can dig and go deeper. So this is where like really where Journey Dance, sort of veers off from many other dance forms. I have a section called evocative emotion and alchemy. And evocative emotion is where I really inspire and encourage people to be willing to feel. People are afraid to feel, because if we feel, we're afraid the floodgate will open and we won't be able to stop. But if we do feel, we change, we become so much more compassionate, like we become so much more empathic. We're present with people, we can be deep, we can be in intimacy with somebody, we can be like, okay, I can feel, so I can be with you. If we can't feel, we can't really be with someone else. It's like we're living this like surface level life, which is not acceptable anymore. We know, we can see it. We have to connect on a deeper level. So that's where we get into grief and anger and just what I call just tell your story to the dance floor. What is your story? Maybe your story is like a whole mess of failed relationships that you blame yourself for. Maybe your story is blaming other people for it, right? Maybe your story is self-hatred, and you've got to get out of that. You've got to let this thing go. You've got to shift it. That's when we go to alchemy and we say, what can I do with this energy? I'm going to shift it. And we do it with fire, with shaking, with movement, with expression. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, everything is energy. It's just about how we shift it. And you said it when you introduced me. It's like, even when you were talking to me earlier, like it's an energy dance. It's not about the physical body, even though of course it is about the physical body, but it's about the energy of you as a human, as a being, because you're more than just this body, you're the spirit.
One of the things I got from, visiting your site and following you and seeing what you offer at Crapalo, and then also diving into your book is, I think I'll speak for myself, but I can also speak for the large audience. I have this, so many of us as women that one, we're afraid or have been taught not to show our emotions. So there's,
Right.
2 years old, we stuff it, 6 years old, 20 years.
Of
That
course.
is a lot of repressed energy, as you said.
Yes.
So beautifully shared. And what we don't realize, it takes more energy to hold that shit in than it does to release it. And I tell
That's
my
what I always
clients,
say. I
right,
love that. That's what I always say.
this is what I tell my clients, because they know I live in the middle of the woods on a spring-fed pond, so I'm looking out at the water right now. And I said,
Lovely.
listen, I want you to picture a giant beach ball with all that shit, excuse my language, ladies, that's in you that you don't want to look at, and try
Mm.
holding it underwater. Think of
Oh, yeah.
how hard it is to hold that beach ball. I go, you're going to get tired after a while. You're going to lose your joy. Your arms are going to get tired. You're going to feel
Mhm.
resentful. Let it go. And then the ball pops up out of the water, and I'm like, imagine if you could feel like that. And that's why I tell them,
Mhm.
it's taken you more energy not to process the feelings and all of that. So what I'm heard from you is,
Yes.
in the movement, those feelings that they're intellectually afraid to face,
Yes.
JourneyDance actually helps them release them without maybe going through all the, and I'm for therapy, so I want to make sure I say it,
Yes. Yes.
without going through years of talking. It's like an energetic release. That's how I
Yeah,
envision
and
it.
it pairs so well with therapy in that way,
Ah,
because if you are processing something really deep and the body isn't going with you on the journey, your mind will get it, but then eventually you're gonna have to bring it to the body.
yeah,
Because
and
the
that was
heart,
my
like,
case.
yeah, the heart and the pelvis. I mean, come on, we have so much sexual energy that we're repressing, so much sensual energy we're repressing because of society norms and all the things. We have all this heart energy we're repressing because we don't want to let our love out. It's so interesting that people repress their heart. They do, they actually do, because they don't want to be too much and all the stuff, right? We repress our personality. We do all these things. So what if we let it go? So like the thing about the book, which I'm excited about, is you get to play in this super mellow state. You get to play, and then you go after the place I just talked about with alchemy, where you go into this, I call it an altered state of, sort of, you go into a space where you were talking about the shadow self and the higher self kind of thing a minute ago earlier, that you went through stuff to go through your darkness to go into your light. Well, we do that by placing you in your light body. Like I have an exercise I call Meet Your Inner Guide, and it's in the book. And you go into what we call, what does your inner guide feel like, look like? It is a powerful creature. It could be a goddess. It could be an archetype. It could be a shaman. It could be a wise woman. It could be a medicine person. You step into that role, and then you look at yourself across the space. Okay, this is my small self, my weaker self, my sad self, my abandoned self, all the parts that come up, my angry self, my she got kicked out of whatever club self, whatever it is that we're still holding on to, right? And we step into that part, we dance from that angst, and then we go into the higher self and we do this healing process on ourselves. And that is empowering. When you can do your healing work on yourself, it's like it feels real. When I know I go to therapy, I have a shamanic healer, I have psychics, I have people that, coach me for years. And I love working with every single one of them. But until I do it, it's
Yeah.
still in their court. It's still the advice and the suggestions and the encouragement. But until I do it myself, I'm not in an empowered state. And that's how I feel. I feel like if I can empower myself by doing this activity. So when I created this activity, this process I call Meet Your Inner Guide, I did it for me. I was like, I have a higher self I have to step into here. I have to say, I can give you the love that you so desperately seek. I can ground you.
Yeah,
I can, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And then we merge.
it's like mothering ourselves too.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
what, so all this speaks so deeply to me. And I want to be clear, I love therapy. It changed my life,
Me
right?
too.
So I want to make sure that I was clear on that, because
You were.
to anyone. So we're going to take another break. When we come back, I want to dive into how they can begin this process with you. Because we know they can find you for Journey Dance on your website. But is this, when we come back, I want to talk about, is this a, what's the word I want to think? A linear journey, or can they open it and start where they want? So I want to talk about that.
Okay,
Okay. So we'll be
great.
back in a moment, my friends. I am with the amazing Toni Bergins. You can learn more at JourneyDance.com. And we're talking about today is about embodiment. So please grab her book, Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Your worth is not determined by the number on the scale. You are enough right now, exactly as you are. If you're like many midlife women, you've thought, if I could just reach my ideal weight, I'd be so much happier. But the truth is, what we're really craving is our own love and acceptance. And Sarah Haas is that guide for your journey. Sarah is a women's weight release expert and body love coach, and walks alongside midlife women ready to say yes to self-care, self-compassion, and body love so they can become the healthy, vibrant, and unapologetically confident women they're here to be. Her holistic approach integrates nutrition, body movement, and self-care to nurture body, mind, and spirit. Visit sarahhaaswellness.com for supportive resources, programs, and more for midlife women ready to elevate their health.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour.
if you could find a way,
to get inside
Each other's mind.
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in
my
my
shoes.
shoes.
We've all felt left out, and for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back, my friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and I am loving this conversation because I believe that a lot of my guests bring me a message that I need to hear too. And that's why I love doing the show. I've always discovered that every woman in 9 years of hosting the show and 13 summits, so we're talking about a lot of sacred conversations, I find there's a red thread through every guest story. Their mess became their message. That's my truth. And I can tell from Tony's and those I believe, I think that's possible for all of us. So first off, before we dive in, if you're listening to today's show, I want you to think about that for a moment. Whatever you may be going through, it may feel tough right now, but on the other side of doing the inner work is beauty, light, joy, love. It's all waiting for you. And that's coming from someone who used to have a misery mindset instead of the miracle mindset that she has now. So if it's possible for me, it's possible for each of you. So Toni.
Wow. I love your message. I say, turn your angst into art, which is, your message is your message into the message. And I love what you said, that I call it in Journey Dance teacher training, I call it, what is your personal medicine? Like, what are you bringing? Because medicine means something that you've taken that was not easy to take going down, right? Like we've been through we all have these lives that are like in the past, right? And some of us are keeping them in the present. So how do we digest the past? And that's what I do with Journey Dance. I think Journey Dance is like a digestion process where you're like, okay, I can take any story, whether it's childhood to adulthood, any story in between, and I can work with it. I have a process where we go and we dance and we collect parts of ourselves from the past. We bring them, we lift them up. We say, how old was this piece? Bring it into your heart. We're going to dance with her. We're going to dance with this inner teenager rebel. We're going to dance with the wounded child. We're going to dance with each part of you. We're going to hold them, dance with them. You can dance them in your heart. We can dance them in alchemy. We can go to celebration. I don't know where you're going to find your parts, but most people find themselves after all this tunnel we went through in this celebratory state. And then from there, I take them into sensual freedom, which is a place that so many women need, so many men, everyone needs it, to be able to be sensual and to like say, oh, this body is a beautiful vessel. It's like meant to feel pleasure and joy, and it's a manifesting creative body, right? And we go into manifestation at this point and say, what do I want to create? Now that I've been through this whole hero's journey, what do I want to create? And how do I want to channel my energy? And then I hold my heart and I bring it all like home with the prayer. That's kind of the end of that arc of the class of the experience of JourneyDance. I just wanted to land that
But
plane
that's what I
for
love.
people.
It's so much more than dance, as you just beautifully described. It's a healing modality.
Yeah.
It's a personal development tool. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
so you just so beautifully described, like I can envision the whole class as you were sharing it, and then the processing part. And Embody, in case someone wants to know, is this meant to be read in a linear fashion from front to back and follow all your guidance that way? Or is it a book that you would open and just go to where you're drawn? How do you recommend it? Because
Mhm.
this is a deep, beautiful book that
Yeah.
offers much. What's your thoughts on that?
This is a really good question. I haven't thought about this one yet. So a couple of ways you can approach it. But the first way I would say is if you're brand new and you've never done anything like this before, I would definitely read the first couple chapters, which are kind of dense. They're explaining, how music affects you, how creative visualization, how affirmations. I say that affirmations are great if you're feeling it. If you're looking in the mirror going, I love myself, and you feel like crap, it's just not going to land. You're going to be wasting your time. But if you're dancing, you're like, I love myself, you're going to feel it. You're going to be like in a different space. So I talk about how it all weaves together. And then that's where you start going into the process, which is a program. I call it like, from embodiment all the way through to the end to prayer. So that's one way of going. It's the linear journey. You could step in and say, you know what? I want to read the invocations because I wrote an invocation for every quality, and each invocation is really powerful for me. It's my personal medicine that I bring. I love to write and I love to do invocations. Like I'll say right now, like today, I invite the most beautiful day, and I say, Spirit, whatever you want to call that, bring me into presence, bring me into a state of wholeness. Let me give love freely without any reservations. Let me just pour love into my relationship, into my day, into everything I do. Like that's to me an invocation. And I say,
Yeah.
and so it is. So I have a lot of these throughout the book. And then I have what I call closing prayers, where I say, okay, now that I've invoked this, I've danced it. Now I want to close with a prayer. Like I want to land it in my body. And when you speak out loud, you land things in your body. It's an amazing experience. So you could go to any quality that you feel you want to work on. You just might not know what each quality holds until you read the little introduction section, because each quality is a different
Energy.
part of empowerment. Yeah. And part of, bringing you back into your state. Like if heart is your place and you know it, you could start with heart and you want to go there. If empowerment's your place, then go to evocative emotion and do the anger dance. If you could kind of jump in anywhere, but it does work in a linear fashion because the flow of JourneyDance is an arc. It's kind of like a W. First, you go down and into the body, then you come up into joy, then you go down and into the emotions, then you come up and into alchemy and celebration, then you go down and into prayer, and you end on the floor. It's like this. It's like a
Yeah.
W. Yeah,
And
so it is a journey, just like life. Life is not, just one straight linear thing, that's for sure.
nope, no.
So it has its dips and valleys, and some parts will be more challenging. And that's why I call it like it sort of matches the hero's journey, where we face our ordeal. What is your ordeal today? Today, it's, recovering from, what's happened last week. Today, it's recovering what happened maybe 10 years ago. Today, it's, whatever it is, it's somewhere for you. There's something, or it's
And
what I want to create.
would it feel true, like as I was reading it, if there's something in the book and all of a sudden you feel that little trigger, to me, it's almost like this is the wound that needs to be brought to the surface,
Yes.
right? So it's like listen to your body and listen to your intuition. Like this is the chapter that's really kind of nudging you.
Mm-hmm.
That's an internal sign to start here because I listen. I'm very intuitive, so I just follow the sign.
Yes.
Which is how we got connected, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things for me is there are so many women, and myself included, like I have convinced myself, and I'm sure there's many women I've had this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
that it's like I'm just not a dancer.
Mm.
Oh, here's where I actually went, and I still do it, and now it's become the family joke that I did, and it's lighthearted, but I've owned it. So,
Mhm.
like, my daughter got married, and I'm like, no dance floor stuff, slow dancing and all that. But somebody will say to me, "Come on, Lynn." I go, "No, listen, if you know Elaine from Seinfeld," I said, "You don't wanna see me dance." Because for many years, I was so disconnected from my body,
Right,
that became a story
right, absolutely.
that I began to own, and I do it with lighthearted. I don't when I say that statement, I don't go, "Oh goodness, I dance like Elaine." It's now funny to me, but
I love
this
Elaine dancing, and I'll do Elaine dancing for the rest of my life, I
oh, yeah,
don't
I'm gonna
care.
tell you, like, my granddaughter is sassy and she's beautiful. I have a 24-year-old grandson and I have a soon-to-be 13-year-old granddaughter, and she's spirited. So, when she was about 8, she heard the story and she goes, "Amma, come on." They call me Amma,
Mm.
my family, and, so she found an Elaine video, and one day I'm just sitting down after taping a couple shows, and this video pops up with Elaine, and I know you guys are all smiling, visualizing Elaine on sign, but there are so many women I talk to, they're like, "No,
Right.
no, I can't."
Well, let's get into
They
this for a second.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm open to it. I mean, I have a terrible dance wound. I mean, my funny story I tell in the dance wound chapter is like, I was like the kid who they gave I was the little girl, like 3 or 5, and they gave me like the funny costume. Like I was not a ballerina. I didn't have a pink tutu. I had like this little basket of either leaves or confetti, and I would go out first and toss it on the stage for the ballerinas to come out after me. So I'm like totally have the dance wound. But the thing about me with dance is it's about vibration. It has nothing to do with what it looks like. We don't dance with mirrors. I mean, Zoom is mirrors because you can't help it. But
yeah,
generally, the vibration of music makes me move, period. That's it. Like when I hear music, when you hear music, I don't know anyone who can say they hear music, they don't feel something. Either you like it, you don't like it, it opens your heart, you feel this incredible, like, oh my God,
oh, I agree.
yeah, so music is the medicine, music plus movement. I wish I'd called it through music and movement, but too many words. So music is basically the key to everything for me. Music is my life. I am obsessed with music. I mean, I can't have it on all the time or I'll just drift into like a journey, but I feel like music is like psychedelics for me. Music's like whatever, it's medicine. I play it. I'm like, oh my God, I want to dance to this. If it's gritty, I want to be gritty. If it's light and stringy, I want to be light and stringy. I don't care what it is. It's just that's dance to me. It's nothing to do with move with the shapes and the counting and
And all
the
of that.
no, 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 it's about expression, it's about feeling, so we have to get out of that state, like, there's professional dancers that study for their whole lives, and they're incredible, and I honor them, and I love them, and I know so many of them, and I move pretty relatively well, because I've been dancing for so long, but I didn't start as a child. That was my childhood experience, and that was that. I was like, "I'm done with this thing, I'm not doing this." Then I went to gymnastics, and I was terrible. I was like my body was not for that. I was just, like, not that body type, and I couldn't do all the, like, flying through the air and stuff, and I just shut it down. So fitness was the direction I went because it was a place where I could move again. Like aerobics to me was so fun because we were dancing and shouting and clapping. And I was like, yay, something. But then when I left, I never did another, step like that again. I just went free dance fully. But
Well, it's so
for women
funny
who think they're not dancers, I just want to say, like, remember, it's not about that. It's about the vibration and you moving your body.
so funny because you said that because a few weeks ago, I was fighting a virus, and I was sitting there going, "I just needed to process." And I put on, like, I had my phone, it was in between calls, so I put on YouTube and the little songs, they know what you like, and they started coming. And nobody was home. And I
Right.
blasted that. And I just
Nice.
listened to my body. And there was this, and sometimes if I want to feel any emotions coming up, I do what you said, find the song that gets me going, right? And there was a song, which I don't normally listen to, but his words, his voice, it's called Save Me by Jelly Roll, right? If you
Oh yeah, I know that
it's
song.
deep hurting,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know why, but I put it on. It came up in
Mm,
the scroll thing,
mm-hmm.
and deep tears, and it brought
Mm-hmm.
me back to my lost teenage years. I wasn't grief, but
Mm.
now, but that's what you're talking about, right? Music.
Absolutely. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and so I was just wiggling in the kitchen and it was organic. It wasn't like I said, I'm gonna move my body. It was, how
Absolutely.
could I not? I see now it was the processing of whatever I wanted to release, and my body was trying to show me, "Oh, let's get it out." And so,
I love this story.
yeah, it
Mhm.
was so powerful. And
Many
then
people
another
do dance in their kitchens, and they have,
place
like,
I
their own
did.
dance parties, right? Little living room dance parties, and that's all I want for everyone. The thing about dancing together in community is that it creates this opportunity to heal on a social level as well. So, like, we heal that, like, like the 8th grader, like, I didn't get picked. Like, we heal that because I say, like, "Okay, everyone go get a partner. Make sure everyone has a partner. No one is left out. If there's an extra person, we make a group of 3." Like, it's like we heal these wounds that happen to us during those formative years when we're in our body, especially for girls. Like, the body,
Oh, I'm watching it with my granddaughter,
yeah.
she's at that age, she's 12 and a half, tall for her age.
Mhm.
And
That's when I had my first big trauma at that age, so that's a very tender age, and
it
it's like
is.
it's like prepubescent, and there's a lot going on there. Let me tell you, it's in the book, I wrote about it, and it's, like, pretty, intense for me to share that because it was a life-changing story, and I shut down after that and didn't I was not, like, just trust me, I was not some sassy teenager, I was, like, shut down from, like, 13 to, like, 18, a lot of things happen on our journeys that take us, and that we get to come back, but the thing about the dance is to always remember that it's about coming home. It's not about performing. This is not a performative thing at all. It's like totally organic. It's about feeling and being an organic being.
And I
That's
think this is so
yeah.
important for women to hear. And I want to remind everyone again, we're going to take a final break and come back for the last 10-minute segment. And I want to invite everyone, please go to journeydance.com and you'll find everything about Toni there. You can also grab a copy of her book, Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. We'll be back for the last segment. I am loving this conversation. We'll be right back, my friends.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Times Radio. IOM FM.
There is magic within you and all around you. Sha Blackburn, internationally recognized psychic, shamanic healer, and teacher, known as the Loon Witch, has been empowering individuals to transform their lives using magical principles and her intuitive gifts since 1997. Sha is a high priestess in the Order of Blended Wisdom Coven, ordained minister, Reiki master teacher, certified neuro-linguistic practitioner, and QHHT practitioner, certified in shamanic healing from the Foundation of Shamanic Studies. For over 20 years, she's been a popular media guest, providing wisdom and live intuitive readings. Sha offers an empowering variety of in-person and virtual workshops on the topics of divination, healing, metaphysics, and more. Clients around the world turn to her for tarot and rune readings and to her intuitive wisdom for guidance and clarity. Ready to tap into your magic? Visit loonwitch.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Free your mind with Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy. And today's show is really all about something I think all of us women need to hear. It's like reclaim our truth, reclaim the connection to our body. This is something I've been working on for a long time. I am so far along than where I was 30 years ago when I started the journey, but it's a wound that so many of us hold. And having Toni here today to talk about using movement and dance and sound and music to heal that part of us is so damn important. So in our last segment, Toni, you covered so much about this journey of JourneyDance, the process, your journey, and I do love that you share story. I'm a storyteller. All my authors that through my book publishing company, they go through an authentic storytelling process, and we've published 300 women's stories, and
Wow.
it it's the authenticity that always connects with me. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's what your book is. It's like you were raw, vulnerable, and the teacher. But you weren't the teacher up here. You were teaching with us. That's how I felt with your book.
And I love it. Thank you so much. That means so much to me because that's how I actually teach when I dance with people. I'm always doing my process. Like I will never be outside of the group. Like I'm inside because we are all connected. We have this energetic ability to connect. And when we all let ourselves feel the grief together, we mourn together. There could be like something that happens in the world that we need a dance. And I've done many dances the day after, many things have happened and people just let go. We may need to feel joy together because we've forgotten our joy, right? We may need to feel sensual together. And we look around the room and see all these women and men, moving their bodies and expressing themselves. It's like this is what we're meant to do. Like, that's what I feel. I feel like we left a lot of the body behind in our evolutionary process of becoming intelligent and intellectual, and prioritizing success in the mind over, experiencing the body. So that's something that I've been, really talking about. I wanted to say one, yeah,
I was
continue.
going to say, I think it's so important now more than ever because of technology, social media, our young girls, like my granddaughter,
Yeah.
they're getting exposed to stuff that you and I, at our ages, we didn't even have that in our lives, and we had our own wounds at 13. Now,
Right.
multiply what they're receiving incoming at them at all times from every angle. The wounds and the disconnect from the body can really be traumatizing at an
Oh, and the
elevated
pressure.
level now.
Yeah. I agree with you so much. And the pressure, I mean, it's for boys too. I have sons and the whole social media impact on their lives. They're so happy. They say to me, "Mom, so glad you didn't give us phones till we were at least 13." I'm like, "Oh, thank God I
Same
didn't."
with McKenna, same thing.
Yeah, but
Thank you
it's
for
still,
telling me.
even at 13, it's like a flood of information and you can't, like, as
Oh, yeah,
as one
no,
of my
yeah,
one
no,
of my in-laws used to say, "You can't cover the sun with one finger." It's a great phrase. You try to cover the sun and, like, you can't cover it, so you just have to learn how to deal with it. So something really interesting for girls, I think, and for young people with whatever gender identity, I think, doing this work, with them is also, something beautiful, like to get them into their bodies. But at a certain age, there's a certain tender time where I think we should be like allowing kids just to be inhibited and be, in their cute little place and not push them into anything. And then when they get a little older, they can start processing, their life. I don't recommend it. Like you can still dance and release your emotions at a young age, of course. But some of the stuff we talk about in JourneyDance is a little bit of a deeper topic, like processing trauma. So something to consider, just the right timingness for everything. But I
Yeah.
really love what you said, and I wanted to add one thing that so I don't forget, is that one of my, I think I came up with this equation. This is like my big thing that it's in the book, but in this equation that I came up with is what I really believe about life, and I talk about it at every dance class. If we don't have joy as our baseline emotion, joy as our like go to and return to, and and joy has everything to do with gratitude. Like if I feel gratitude, joy is like right behind, it's like right next door, it's like right there. So if I can feel grateful, like I'm about to like have a cup of tea in a minute, and I'm going to be so excited to touch the mug and be like, oh my God, and that will bring me joy. And dance brings me joy, whatever it might be, right? So if I have joy as my baseline emotion, I can do all the other things. So my equation is resilience minus joy equals suffering. Resilience plus joy equals empowerment. Because that's when, if you can navigate, right? If you can navigate the bandwidth and have capacity for the feelings that are hard and not forget that joy is right there, not to take everything so seriously to the point where we're so tapped into the external and to remember who we are as a being. I feel like that's like the key to what's the word, self-ownership, self-proclamation, I am here, like I am not just my story.
Yeah, and joy to me is the essence, right? And you named the other one that is core to how I live my life is gratitude. I focus on seeing the blessings every day. I have a hashtag seeing the blessings. And most of us, like myself many years ago, wanted to focus on the bullshit in my life. So I was always focused on what wasn't right, what isn't right. And when I
Oh my
started
God, I
focusing
love
on
that.
the blessings,
I mean, I love what you said that you used to focus on that, now you don't. I mean, that's a major shift.
if people knew, like someone, I just got off Chevy Anna's radio show, and she goes, I've known you for a long time. I didn't know you were a welfare mom, runaway, high school dropout, queen of self-sabotage. And I go,
There
darling,
you go.
I lived in the darkness. I struggle with severe
And look
anxiety.
at you now.
I know what it feels like to live on both sides, and I also did the inner work to know exactly what you just said. Joy and gratitude, without those two things, and they are integrated.
Mhm.
In the middle of chaos, I still look for the blessings. I could choose to look at the bullshit all around me.
Absolutely. We all can.
We all, but I notice in every moment I can just come back and say, in this moment, all is well. In this moment, I can see the beautiful plants outside my window. In this moment, I can see the sparkles on the water. Doesn't mean
Right.
life isn't hard sometimes. So
Absolutely.
that joy and gratitude message of yours has been key for my healing and transformation too.
Well, your
And
story is amazing.
I've had a hell of a journey, but I wouldn't change any of it now. I can look back and go,
Right, because the mess is the message, right? There you are. And you
yeah,
can
and I
relate
can
to so many
actually,
people.
yeah, and I can look back and see now, oh, that's why that happened. So I could be teaching this for these women who are hurting. So me learning self-compassion, joy, loving myself, healing, mindset strategies, I'm now teaching them, not that I ever expected to be doing all of that, but the divine
Right.
own
Me
plan.
too. That's where I'm at. So I'm telling you, we have so much in common. You talk
Yeah.
about mindset strategies. I mean, my mind was such a mess that I worked with many different people to help me. And I put in the book, and the last chapter is 4 different methods of working with your mind, which are it's not an easy thing to work with. I mean, people have negative thoughts streaming constantly, and they have to step out and say, okay, wait a second. If I choose this thought and I allow this thought, it impacts my body. That's the thing I want people to remember. The thoughts are not just they're floating, but if you take one and you say, I'll take that one, like the icky one, and I'm gonna hunch over, I'm gonna walk in fear, I'm gonna feel shame, I'm gonna be shut down, my vibration's gonna lower. And it's just because I decided to agree with a thought. So I try to teach people as best I can. I call it mind busting because I want to be funny about it, like as if you're a ghostbuster and you're gonna like goop on all those disgusting ghosts, right? You're gonna goop on all those thoughts and be like, no, I mind bust you. And I flick it away and say, "Wait, what would I prefer to think?" Best sentence I ever got asked to me, best question I ever got asked was, "What would you prefer to think?" By one of my amazing coaches, Ariana Shelton. And I'll never forget it. And I love her. And she's my deepest teacher for all my life. What would you prefer to think? And if you could remember what would you prefer to think, like it's like life changing, but it takes time. It's not like I say this is easy. This journey is not necessarily easy, to say,
No, but it's worth it.
oh,
And
absolutely worth it.
I just noticed the time as we come to a close, and this conversation could go on for hours, my friend.
Yes.
I just want to share, thank you for bringing your work to the world because it is so needed. I'm so glad that you wrote your book, Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. And ladies, you'll get a little surprised when you order it because just flick the little corner of the book. What do you call that again? The little
Yeah,
I forget.
it's a flip book.
It's a little flip book in the corner. I thought it was the cutest damn thing, and my granddaughter loved it. But
I'm so
aside from
happy.
that cuteness, there is so much wisdom in here
Thank you.
to help support you on your journey. Please go to JourneyDance.com, check out her site, check out her offering, see where she is going to be next. And Toni, thank you, my friend. I'm so glad this worked out for us both to
Me
connect.
too. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to meet you and thank you for the university that you've created. I mean, it's the dream. It's like I love it. I'm so excited to go down that rabbit hole and look into it and check out more things that you're doing.
Well, I appreciate you, my friend. And until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thank Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.